Michigan stops Damon Williams and Washington in what I believe was a pivotal game for both of these programs as they were looking to compete for the Big Ten championship. If they could just keep it together long enough, maybe Ohio State, maybe Indiana slips. But also, I thought this was for a play-in spot into the top 25 going into week 9. And I was really impressed with just what we saw from Michigan and why I think Wolverine fans are probably thinking, oh yeah, we still got an opportunity to do this because, well, you know what we do to Ohio State. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Did you expect the Washington Huskies to get absolutely stopped by Michigan and Wink Martindale's defense? Because that is what happened. Going into this game, I wrote about Damon Williams Jr. as one of the best really finds in college football this year with what he'd been able to put together so far. Against against Maryland, he brought them back from a 20-point deficit to win. And against Rutgers, the man absolutely went bonkers. 538 total yards, 400 plus passing yards, and 100 yards on the ground in that game with 4 total TDs. And he thrown just 1 interception throughout all of this, heading into this game on the road at Michigan. This is the first week in which Michigan had not been a top 25 team after taking its second loss to USC, after taking a loss to Oklahoma, who is a one-loss team that still can make the college football playoff. That loss looks better as Oklahoma continues to win football games. At the time of this segment, they're leading South Carolina by 10 points. But as much as I'm going to talk about the Michigan offense, and I will, I still want to point out one interception thrown by Damon Williams Jr. this season before this game. He threw 3 against Michigan. A couple of those, you're looking at him going, you're pressing. And he's pressing because they're able to get pressure on him with what is becoming a really, really outstanding pass rush once again with their 4 players up front, not needing to send Ernie Hausman, but when he does come, he gets home. Not needing to send Rolder, but when he does come, he gets home. Jayshon Barner was great. Derek Moore was great. They're all beaten up on that offensive line for Washington, who couldn't do anything against that defensive front, passing or running. I mean, we're talking about a Washington team that averaged fewer than 1.7 yards per carry and ran the ball just 23 times for 40 yards. Time of possession also went to the Michigan Wolverines. And one of the things that I've always kept an eye on when we're talking about Michigan football is, you know what they want to do. They want to establish a lead. And if they get a lead going into the third quarter, it's really difficult to come back and beat them because they're going to sit on the ball, they're going to play great defense, and they're going to run it really, really well. Wink Martindale knows this. Sharon Moore knows this. So the way to beat Michigan is to get on top of them early and to try to make them play from behind. It is not a program. It is not a team that is built to play from behind. They're not going to be a high-scoring offense. They're going to play complementary football, and they're going to bleed you out and slowly squeeze you like an anaconda wrapping itself around a grown man. And that's what they were able to do against this Washington team that was averaging 39 points per game heading into this and was held to just 7 with, no time left. I mean, it felt like we were in a defensive battle in the first half, right? 7-7. And then all of a sudden you get that interception thrown from Damon Williams that leads to a TD. So points off the takeaway for the Michigan Wolverines. And from there, it's just letting Bryce Underwood and the firm of Marshall and Marshall go to work. Really, really great game for Jordan Marshall, who had 25 rushes for 133 yards in this game, 5.3 yards per carry. Actually, he had more than that. And in a game where they needed him to be that guy for them, Justice Haynes didn't even wear pads on the sideline for this, out for the game. Tony Alford did a really great job preparing Jordan Marshall for this moment. It's just his second 100-yard rushing performance going back to the ReliaQuest Bowl against Alabama. This is before Justice Haynes arrived from Alabama, remember. And we're also talking about a program that expects to be there near the end. I think a 10-win Michigan team does get into the college football playoff, provided they beat a number 1 ranked Ohio State to end the year. And given what their record has been against Ohio State since 2021, you would be crazy to say that they can't do that. they find ways to win games that perhaps we don't think they should, and they find ways to lose games that perhaps we don't think they should. USC was the more physical football team when they played at the Coliseum last week. This week, back at the Big House, Michigan got back to what you kept hearing Joel Klatt call its first principles. We're going to block. We're going to get to the second level. We're going to run the football. And now that you have a guy in Bryce Underwood who is capable of doing what J.J. McCarthy could do, you really do have the sauce that you need. 21 of 27 for 232 TDs on this, but also getting a tremendous game out of Zach Marshall, who was the third string tight end going into this game as they were down. They're starting 2 tight ends, and he had 5 catches for 72 yards and a TD. Andrew Marsh also continues to come on. Donovan McCulley didn't have a great game today, but he is their number one. If you can get those pieces to continue to play this sort of football, there's no reason to believe that Michigan can't win every game left on its schedule. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough. But I would be really astonished if we don't see this Michigan team get to 9 wins this season, given what the rest of their schedule has in store for it. Because, I mean, again, we always know that the game is going to be there at the end. They know the game is going to be there at the end. Frankly, that's the reason you come to Michigan. But you got Michigan State, you got Purdue, you got Northwestern, you got Maryland. Those are all winnable football games against not great teams, save Maryland maybe, and then Ohio State to end. So this was a really big win for them. They also knocked Damon Williams off that Heisman perch. He's going to have to do a lot of work just to get back in the conversation now after a performance that, frankly, he'll want to forget. 20 of 32 for 209 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt in this 24-7 loss. Jonah Coleman just had 16 rushes for 50 yards. And again, player of the game for me is Jordan Marshall, who basically carried that Michigan running game on his back and did what he needed to do to get it done. I think when we get Justice Haynes back into the fold, he might go back to being RB1, but it's nice to know that you got basically RB1 and RB1B if you are a Michigan Wolverine. They'll be in the comments here gloating because that's what they do, and hey, you should do it. I invite that. I invite you to brag about your team. I invite you to talk about what you were able to do against a team that was scoring on everybody except Ohio State and didn't score on you. That's a really good feather in your cap. This is a team that scored just 6 against Ohio State, and it scored 7 against Michigan, in case we wanted to forget just how good Wink Martindale and that Michigan defense can be when they got it going. I also want to take this opportunity to remind you that we're partnered with MyBookie, and in part of that partnership, they have really made it easy for you to bet on games like this one, where you might have known that, hey, Michigan is going to win this game going away. So you put down some money on it. Well, why not do that with MyBookie? And in that, you can also bet on player props. You can also bet on the in-game lines. You can also bet against the spread, so forth. And if you're new to MyBookie, you can use my code. It is RJ Young, all one word, all caps, at mybookie.com, and bet as you choose up to $500, and it's fully covered. And if you make your play and it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your bet back bonus token. There's a link at mybookie.com that you can use, and then you just throw my promo code in. It's in the description below in case you just want to copy and paste it. So let's see if you can make some money given what we know about Michigan going forward. All right,